Hi, I'm Marty,
I'm Dave.
I'm John.
I'm Aaron.
and this is Door 14 Hockey. Don't adjust your devices. It is us. It's Door 14 Hockey.
Wow.
Thank you. Welcome to the new edition of the Door 14 Hockey podcast. I'm your host, Marty, alongside John,
Hello.
Dave,
Hello.
and Aaron.
Hey!
Full house tonight. Tonight, we are celebrating a milestone for our podcast. It's hard to believe, but we are celebrating a full decade when we sat down 10 years ago around one single microphone, hit record on our very, very first episode in John's house. We had a simple idea back then, born from a conversation on the Stenline Ferry. A couple of friends sit around talking hockey, Giants, league, dramas, rivalries, and everything in between. Don't think any of us imagined at all that we'd be still here 10 years later, still talking hockey and still loving every minute of it. Over the last 10 years, we have seen it all. We've covered championships, we've covered tragedies, we've seen coaches and players come and go in this league. We've watched the Elite League grow and evolve. We've hit big milestones together, our first live show, our 100th episode. And the show wouldn't be what it is without these three guys here sitting with me because they make it easy for me every single time. Well, mostly easily. More importantly, it's a little bit of a therapy fix as well for us every 2 weeks to get chatting. So, boys, thank you so much for that. We've never claimed at all to be experts on this show, and we don't try to take ourselves too serious. It does seem to resonate with a lot of you listening, and you interact with us, and we want to say a big thank you to all of you. You've been here for anybody who's been here since day one, thank you very much for that. And anybody who's just started listening to us or joined us recently, we do truly appreciate your continued support. For anyone listening today for the first time, we are Door 14 Hockey, the podcast the world doesn't need but gets anyway. We're a topical podcast taking a relevant look at the world of hockey, and we've been around for 10 years, and we hope to be around for 10 years more. Lads, that's a bit of an introduction for us. Welcome to our 10-year anniversary. How are you all doing? Dave, how are you doing?
Good. Just back from holiday, enjoying the summer. Trying to get the house in order. One for the season coming back, and two for getting the kids back to school. So manic next few days. But yeah, I've had a good, chilled, relaxing time. Probably not kept on top of the hockey news as much as I probably should have, but plenty of time to catch up.
That's
Of time.
right.
I hope.
I'll get you caught up. Don't you worry. I'll get you caught up in period one. Aaron,
And
how are you doing?
Go ahead.
Dave, did you want to say something there, buddy?
I was going to say you didn't call out our old tagline, the loose women of ice hockey.
I didn't actually. I forgot to add that in. Well pointed out. That'll come in a minute. Actually, we'll get to that in a minute. Yeah. Aaron, how are you doing?
I'm very good, buddy. Glad to be back. Unfortunately, I was. Dave, where was it? You were Greece or somewhere?
Greece, yeah, Zante in Greece, yeah.
Yeah.
How did you come back paler than you left?
Yeah, that was my. I guess it was not like 40 degrees or something like that.
It was exactly. Stayed in the pub. It was all inclusive.
Fortunately, I have not been away anywhere fancy like that. It's just been in the back garden. But here, the weather's been good. It's been good. You've been had 20 plus degrees or so, but very much looking for the hockey season coming back.
And we're nearly there. We're nearly there, boys. John, and how are you doing?
I'm good. I could not be happier. The foundations finally went in on my house build early last week, and the first walls are being built starting tomorrow. So with all of that going on and being in this lovely sort of 1940s cottage style design with the lovely designer plates hanging on a wall that I'm in my friend's house while I'm staying here, couldn't be happier, mate.
Good.
I was commenting earlier, John, that wallpaper is something else. I actually want some.
My soft focus isn't doing it justice. There we go. For anyone watching the video, that's a little bit better. It's just give everyone a proper look. Let's camera follow.
I
Look
mean-
at that. It's just
I mean,
beautiful.
It's almost retro that it's back in.
That's
You know
what I'm
what I
saying. Yeah,
It's
It's
yeah.
not going in the new house. It's not coming with me.
Boys, as you've seen, and anybody who is watching our podcast, we do have a new intro for our podcast, and we have a little bit of a new look, bit of a new logo, as we celebrate our 10 years anniversary. This episode marks the 10 years since, kind of roughly around about the same date as our first episode. And as I mentioned in our intro, the first episode, if you all remember, we sat around in John's apartment at the time with the snowball microphone, one single microphone on the middle of a table. And actually, when I went back in to see Aaron, I don't actually think you were there for the very, very, very first episode. I found the elusive first episode. I thought it had went missing. I couldn't find it forever. And I found Blue Harvest, which is the very, very first episode we ever recorded. And full points for anyone who gets Blue Harvest as a reference.
I definitely edited it because it took me like 4 hours to edit that.
Do you remember when every but and pause was edited out? It took nearly 3 times as long to edit the podcast as it did to actually record it.
Yeah.
Whereas nowadays, we don't care what we say, nothing gets edited, and somehow people are still here listening to it.
It was only then, and then I put this little video thing together at the start and had you down and sitting around the microphone. But I think you were there for the second episode, and we've done the same for the second episode. So technically, it still fits within the history of Tour 14 hockey.
Can we take a moment for Anthony's comment here? And he's not wrong. even on episode 1, one of us managed not to show up. It's the consistency we all love. He's not wrong.
But obviously,
it would be so boring if we were here all the time.
As I mentioned, that was that's one memory, obviously, that I have of this very, very, very start. But boys, obviously, as it's our 10 years anniversary, give me your main highlight or your main memory of the podcast, Dave. Let's start with you. What's your main memory from way back then?
No prep, and he drops this one on us. Wow.
I know. So mine would probably be the being let loose to find some equipment. And I found basically a church clear out. That's the only way to describe it.
Yeah.
With random stage mics and the largest data input thing in the world. Like 14 XLR inputs or something silly.
That mixer was in this house for ages.
And then trying to get it to work with anything was bonkers.
There was an enormous cable that went from that mixer to all 4 stand mics. We had 4 stands, 4 mics, then a cable that went all the way to my iMac to make that work. And every time you guys came round, I had to rearrange the entire living room so that
we used to sit in the sofas. It was amazing.
Sit in the sofas and like look at each other while we were doing that podcast. That was an insane.
But that's all it is. Like if you were watching other podcasts, they're all chilling out on sofas and all that kind of stuff. We should totally set up a studio one day.
You're saying we were ahead of our time.
Yep.
Do you know what? I think you're right. I think we did Spit and Chicklets before Spit and Chicklets did Chicklets.
Yeah.
Say that 3 times fast.
I'll get banned on many platforms.
And Aaron, how about you? Any particular memories from our 10 years?
I don't know if we did anything podcasty during this, but my favorite memory is all of us going to Vegas.
Mm.
I always remember on certain John would randomly just start streaming something or wanting to record something after any game. He does it quite a bit when it's the playoff weekends. Did you do that in Vegas at all, or
wasn't a thing back then? That was back in 2019. So even then, I don't even think we were maybe just about doing a video podcast from Marty's loft room at that point. I think we were in the very early stages.
That's true. We didn't even do this live back then.
No, we didn't even. I think we first done a video podcast version of the video podcast. I think 2019. I think you're right, John. I think it was around maybe that September, that season, start of that season, 2019-2020 season, the COVID season, where COVID came in 2020.
Well, we went to playoffs 2019, didn't we?
We did.
So that's when we started putting out a few like individual video like segments, but we still hadn't really done a video podcast, and that started in COVID when we had access to video platforming.
And then we
we did, because with me moving away, I would have had to leave the podcast.
And then we decided to bite the bullet then not long after that and just wing it and just go live. Like, do you know what? Let's just do it.
It's just easy.
Yeah.
But I always like that Vegas trip because one, we got a lot of hockey, and two, it's probably a good thing that there wasn't any live streaming after some of the. But we all got to go see one of our podcast legends that we absolutely love, and we got to see Kevin Smith live. So it kind of brought the two worlds together, which I really liked.
Yeah. Very good. Yeah. John, how about you? 10 years, any memory particular?
There's loads actually. Like, these last 10 years have opened up things that I never would have expected to do. Going backstage in Belfast during the CHL, getting into the post game coaches interviews, thanks to Mark Brooks in Belfast, was one. It was the first real, I don't want to call it journalistic experiences that we had, but it really was. It was one of the first times that we were given that sort of opportunity. Normally, when I'm podcasting, I've got my Belfast Giants Access All Areas pass that I got that night hanging up behind me. It's one of my favourite things that I have. But it's opened up so many other things. I went down to Kirkcaldy one night randomly and interviewed Ed Courtney. It was our first ever interview with anyone. Getting to chat with Ed Courtney and some of his college players when they were in Kirkcaldy. Since then, that's kind of rolled on. We've been able to do more interviews with more people. We've had people like Anthony come on this podcast. A couple of seasons ago, we tried something we never would have tried to do years ago, which was live, have multiple guests come on at different times to talk about the final four teams that were heading into playoffs. But if I've got to single out one experience in particular, I would probably say being on the ice when the Giants won the Grand Slam, because without this podcast, without the years that we put into it before that, without being accredited because of the effort that we'd all put in to get us to where we were, I would never have had that opportunity to step foot on the ice as the Belfast Giants lifted the playoff trophy to be Grand Slam champions, and experience that. To experience it in the stands is one thing, but to be on the ice with the guys when they're celebrating that and get to talk to some of them as well. I was looking through old videos today and seeing all the video interviews that I did with the guys on the ice, like Besco, and it's just insane to think that I was in that position thanks to a really hungover sail back on the ferry from Glasgow when we all decided, do you know what, let's talk about hockey, but let's record it and let other people listen to it. And here we are now, 10 years later.
10 years later. And as I said, boys, thank you so much, because when people ask me about, when I mentioned to people, you know, when you're sitting in one of those things like in work or one of those kind of things you go along to and they're like, tell me something about you or whatever. And I always say, oh, I host a podcast. I've been doing it for 10 years now. People are always like, oh, that's really interesting. And we have a conversation about it. And as I always kind of explain to them, and it sounds cheesy, but for me, it genuinely is every 2 weeks coming together with my three best friends, a bit of a therapy session, getting to have a chat with you. It's make sure, you know, it always makes us have an opportunity to actually sit and talk to each other, either before the podcast, after the podcast, and just gives us that opportunity to kind of, you know, get together and make sure we're doing that. So thank you very much for constantly. Hello, Anthony joked around it. There was always maybe one of us missing. Whenever anybody who does shows up, it's always good to have, because we come off these shows live and we're always buzzing afterwards. So thank you so much.
I was actually talking about it today, talking about the 10 years and that we were recording our 10-year podcast. I was telling some of the guys I'm working over in America about it, and they're like, it's always all this, you know, there's hockey in Ireland and there's hockey in the UK. What? And saying that it was going on for 10 years. And I can remember when you came, it must have been after that boat trip from Glasgow. He says, hey, you know, we want you to be the guy that doesn't know much about hockey, to ask those questions. And I reflected on that going, I don't think I've learned much in the last 10 years. To be fair, I'm still that guy that doesn't know much about hockey.
I think you're downplaying it. I think you're selling yourself short there, Aaron. I think you know more than you think you do. But you're I also. When was reading this now?
Come on, it's an audio podcast, mate. You've got to read it out loud. Anthony is saying, jokes aside, fellas, congratulations on 10 years of passion, energy, dedication, and all as pasty as a white pudding and an Ulster fry. much love and respect. Onward and upward, we all go. And Anthony, thank you very much, especially from someone like you. I'd probably put Anthony on that same sort of pedestal when it comes to hockey podcasting in the UK as a View from the Bridge. He does an incredible job for the NHL, and I've no doubt that he's also going to do an incredible job for the Guildford Flames this year as their commentator. Good luck with all those name pronunciations, mate.
He's
Yeah,
probably
yeah.
our live editor as well, right? He's our live fact checker.
Yeah,
Pretty much.
He's forgotten more than we ever knew about hockey. So
Yeah.
I also have one more message before we move on. I did get this sent through before the podcast, and I was asked to read it out. It's from our most loyalist fan, Mark. He just wanted to say he's all a massive congratulations on 10 years of the podcast. You've kept me entertained during walks, gardening, whatever that might, or whatever I might need some listening. Here's to many, many more years, and see us at Drina very soon. So there you go. He can't make it to the live.
That guy has the most exciting life I've ever heard of.
Yes.
Aside from all of his international travel, so clearly
He's never
listens
around.
to us on a plane, or when he goes to all these amazing city breaks. But instead, he's listening to us when he's gardening or walking.
Right, boys, let's start into our episode as we normally do. And for anybody who's new around here, our podcast does take the structure of a hockey game, 3 periods of news with a few additional features added in for good measure. So with that in mind, let's get stuck into period 1 of hockey. All right, period
Great.
1.
Mate,
Wait,
those
hold on.
graphics.
very pretty.
Yeah, okay, I'll give you a minute. Yeah, okay, yeah, thanks. If you hadn't seen them, I couldn't remember if you'd seen them or not, but yeah.
Love the
thank you.
graphics, but I'm sitting here ready to rock out to the theme music.
Oh, Aaron, I'm
One of
really
us is going to
sorry.
get caught out. One of us is going to
Yes,
get caught out and
um,
start singing it ourselves, and then it's going to come
Yeah.
back on, and we're still going to be singing.
I'm really sorry, but the old theme music is now a thing of the past. Sorry.
All
Yeah,
R.I.P.
we're old and sensible now, so we have grown up graphics with no music because it's too loud and shouty.
Yeah.
Just a massive horn.
Yeah,
I did.
You can
I had-
talk about your massive horn all you want, mate.
Boom, boom.
See, if we were still in our era of naming the podcast after stuff that we say on the podcast, that totally would have been the name for this podcast. But clearly, we don't do that anymore. My wife actually did say about the graphics, because I showed her some of the graphics. She was like, "Yeah, it does feel like you've grown up with this graphic," and I was like, "Thanks. Yeah, that was the aim." But yes, anyway, this period is a roundup of news from around the UK. But before we get to the little bits of stories that we've put in for this running order, I kind of wanted to go through, guys, just a quick summary of each team across the league and where they currently are sitting coming into the end of our off-season period. So if it's okay with
Everyone's
you,
on 0 points and nobody's in the lead.
clearly.
No Giants are in the league.
So I'm going to run through each team with each team, kind of similar to what we did with the last podcast. We maybe treading on some areas of the previous podcast. We're just kind of re-highlighting some of the things that have happened over the off season. But I'm just going to go through just some, not all new players, but we'll go through some of the key players who've maybe returned, some of the key new players for each team, and any major story maybe that's kind of maybe been in there in the last week or two since our last podcast. So let's get started and let's go with Belfast Giants first. So first up, Brian Smith, big forward, bit of a wrecking ball, comes in from Germany. He'll be hopefully we can expect some big things from him. On the back end, we have Reid Irwin also, who arrives from into the Giants. Calm pressure is what he was described at, or calm presence is what he was described as, which probably means he'll spend most of his time clearing up after the forwards deciding to go defensively missing. Curveball signing, some will say, but was definitely one that people had been opened their eyes to, and that was Marcus Eriksson. He is only the 5th Swede, I believe, to wear teal, and hopefully that means some nice smooth skating, some silky hands, and hopefully not too many IKEA jokes from the stands and from the commentators. Andrew Dixon, although people were like, well, it was always guaranteed. Andrew Dixon is back for his 15th season. Definitely not a career, more of a marriage. Basically, Andrew Dixon will come to it because I've got a question on that in a few minutes. But I mean, he's at a stage now where correct me if I'm wrong, 15 seasons, boys, but Andrew Dixon hasn't had a testimonial, has he? That's all I'm thinking. I'm just putting it out there. Leadership news was the other thing that was mentioned in the last week or two. David Goodwin will be taking the C. He will be returning to the captaincy after being away from the Giants and returning, and he will take on the captaincy again. Then we also have to also look at the Giants made a quick. They obviously put out this week about, and we talked about this in our last podcast, was the Hosp Ice event that happened in the off season. The Giants put out last week on their social media that the club so far had raised for the Northern Ireland Hospice over 129,000 so far in total for that event. So very, very, very well done. The Giants will be going into preseason action this coming weekend. So they have their preseason friendlies this coming weekend with the CHL starting the following week. So there is a lot going on for the Belfast Giants. So boys, first off, got a couple of questions. I'll go around and ask Dwayne's question. That's okay. Let's go with Dave. Let's go with you first. Back to Andrew Dixon. As I said, 15 years, legendary status. Maybe doesn't get as much ice time as others, but and as I mentioned, testimonial game hasn't happened. Is that something we should be thinking should be happening?
It's definitely something you would want to see. Dicko is a bit of an enigma. Every game I've seen him play, that's very few in the last 15 years. We've seen he's been the backup for every season bar one that we've followed as season ticket holders. And he's played a few games and he's been solid. I would love to have seen him do more. Obviously, this is the back end of his career. We're not going to see huge changes, but whenever whenever we have to ask him to step up, he always has. He's always been solid. He's always great to watch. Good net from presence. I would love to have seen more from him. I'm always, my opinions on British netminders. Prior to Dicko, we had Nathan Craze, who was phenomenal, and his career was far too short. And then but the year before that we had a guy they found in Dundonald, because everything went awry that year. It was all a bit crazy. So, but it would have been something we've seen. Would have been nice to see. But I think if Dicko went looking for people for a testimonial, I think they would be lined up around the street for him.
100%, I agree. I genuinely think, is it something that should be under consideration, or some kind of even if it's not a official testimonial, even some kind of like appreciation night or something that should be done. I just feel like there's something
where we all get our Dickos out. Those of us that have them.
Yes.
By that I
Yes,
clearly
John.
mean our Andrew Dixon game worn jerseys.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And you walk around telling everybody, "Do you know who I am?"
only when I'm wearing my Dicko.
John,
So I done a quick chat GBT because that's where all my knowledge comes from these days. He's played.
Andrew Dixon was the 43rd president of the United States.
That's what it said. No. He's played 25 games, 6 wins, one and a GAA of 5.56.
There you go. John, as I mentioned, David Goodwin stepping up to captaincy again for the Belfast Giants after being away and returning to the Belfast Giants last season. Statement there. How big is this for the Belfast Giants moving to the next season?
It's not shocking. Let's put it that way. When that top line correct me if I'm wrong, but that top line were all announced as returning at the same time. So we heard that Goody, Collins, and Pikanich were all coming back all at the same time. Not all coming back at various times in the season. We were getting them from the very start again. the big question that was hanging over was where would Goody slot into the leadership group at that point. But then very quickly after that, we heard that Mark Cooper was leaving and retiring from the game, not just leaving Belfast, but leaving hockey behind. So it's not shocking to see that Goody's stepping back up to wear the C. I think he's a steady hand, he's a proven winner, and he's a Grand Slam captain. So you can't put it any other way. He's going to be great in that leadership role. He has been brought back in multiple 2 seasons now to bail us out come sort of Christmas time, where he's finally gotten sick fed up of being far too warm in southern Spain, and he's decided to come back to sunny Belfast in January. This time he's decided he'll start in September and carry on right the way through, hopefully. So yeah, steady hand at the wheel. You put him. He seems to have a great relationship with Adam. So I think that in combination, we should hopefully see a good start to the season. And it's a difficult start as well. We start off with CHL when it comes to competitive games, so it's going to be a tight run. And even that, it's away, I think, as well. If I'm right, the season starts away competitively. So let's see how they go.
Yep. Aaron, as I mentioned, obviously away from the Hounds around the Belfast Giants and the players that are coming in. As I mentioned, the Belfast Giants obviously had that community-based event earlier in the off season. Hospice raising the sheer amount of money that they've raised. I mean, the Giants, and I suppose any team around the Elite League, for anybody who isn't from the UK, just how important is those community-based engagement for teams like the Belfast Giants?
I think it goes back to what I was talking about earlier when I was talking to a couple of colleagues. Fair enough, they were in America, but when they hear about hockey in the UK, and it can take a few people back. So I think these engagements with the community, it's not just, again, giving us a chance as the fans to get together, but also like reach out to further fans. I think that hospice one that you're talking about really reached out to broaden the horizons of the Belfast Giants and showcase it to the rest of the local community.
Yeah, 100%. Boys, let's move on to Cardiff. Let's move on to how things are shaping up there. First, their off-season highlights. Paul Thompson, obviously, as we talked before, arrives in as the new head coach for the Cardiff Devils. On defense, Brandon Est and Tyson Helgelson are slotted in there to, I suppose, put a bit of meat and grit onto the blue line. Up front, we have Koen Olszewski. Hopefully I've pronounced that correctly, John. He comes in up front with firepower there too. Joey Martin's back for his 10th season. So again, another player who probably is on that cusp of a testimonial, I would say. Probably if it hasn't been already announced, I'm sure there'll be something coming out from there for Joey Martin, without a doubt. We obviously have legends like Mark Richardson, who is eyeing up an all-time game record this season. We've got Ben Davies coming back. We have Ben Bowen still holding the crease there. And yeah, that's kind of roughly where we are with them. This past weekend, the Cardiff Devils did face off against French side Rappees de Gap. Is that how you said it, John? Rappees de Gap? Yeah. They did win 5-1. Yeah, they did win 5-1 on Saturday, and then they wrapped it up with another win on this Sunday. There was a bit of an interesting hit play on the ice, elbowing situation on the ice, which we probably will talk about, but it shouldn't be happening in preseason games. That was just crazy. Actually, let's talk about that, John. Let's move to you with this. Actually, it's a 5-1 win over a French team. A bit of a nice confidence booster, I guess, for them playing against Gap. But that elbow and that play within a preseason. I mean, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I'll come to that in 2 seconds. I want to say one thing. You did mention about Joey Martin and testimonials. He had it summer past, so he's just had it in June just passed. As soon as you said it rang a bell, and I went and checked it. So 14th of June, he had his testimonial. The LaCroix, however you want to say it, the hit he put on the Gap player, the next morning I sent it to you guys, and we had a chat about it in the group chat, and we all agreed that pretty much it shouldn't be happening. I then did a live on TikTok and we're talking about it. Now, what I didn't realise is that happened on the first night. They were playing 2 games in Cardiff. Lacroix didn't play the second game. So my understanding or my guess would be that if that had happened during the regular season, Lacroix would have drawn the attention of Dops for that hit. He took a 5+ game on the night for the hit. My expectation there is that Cardiff and Gap have said, look, he would be banned. So therefore, he doesn't play. The other side I looked at it was there's a potential for retribution there. Now, Cardiff, I think, have been very smart, and I've said this on the lives as well. Cardiff were very smart about the opponents that they've chosen for their pre-season. I don't want to say they're guaranteed wins because nothing in life is guaranteed, but they Gap are towards the bottom of their league. Cardiff are towards the top of theirs. There's a gap in between those 2 leagues as well. So I think Cardiff have chosen pretty smartly. Now, Gap get to come out and experience a bit of culture over here, going to Wales, going to Cardiff, whatever. And yes, I think they were guaranteed wins, but that makes that hit even worse because that hit doesn't need to be made. That sort of play doesn't need to be made. Yes, you can say the guys are a bit rusty because they've had the summer off, but professional players should know when their elbow's high and when it's not, when it's going close to a head and when it's not. It's a dirty hit. It shouldn't be happening. And with the way that this league is shaping up, if he does that through this season against the likes of, let's say, Coventry, or against, there's elements of Nottingham actually as well, and especially the likes of Fife, if he plays that, someone's going to knock his head off.
Yeah. Dave, we talked about it obviously in a previous podcast, but it's worth mentioning again. Paul Thompson in the driver's seat this year for the Cardiff Devils, and the reason why you probably know the reason why I'm picking on you for this question. Obviously, we have seen Paul Thompson in this league for previously with the Coventry Blaze, most notably. You kind of know the kind of teams that Paul Thompson puts together. What can fans, I guess, who aren't aware of him or who are newer to the Elite League, what can they expect, do you think, from a Paul Thompson style?
We got 2 styles of Tomo in his time in the Elite League because he did Sheffield for a season before he left, as far as I remember.
Yeah.
And but I'll talk about what he did when he had Coventry. He built a solid defense, and they played very fast breakout into the neutral zone. So a lot of one-on-none breakaways. Sneak the man behind and sort of beat the goaltender, clog up the neutral zone, and they play possession heavy, probably not with a huge amount of shots, which is different to what Cardiff would be used to. Now, not to say that's what he's going to do this time, but it's hard to tell. I didn't see any of his Odison Bulldogs plays. I would have expected it to be similar due to the nature of that league being a bit more underfunded than it should be. And there's a very quality league, but that's what I would be expecting. Solid defense, solid net minding. We already know that. And then fast-paced breakout forwards. And they'll catch teams on the back foot, and they are going to score a lot of pretty goals throughout the season. I would say you'll get a lot of highlight reel goals from that team.
Yeah. I'm sure Cardiff are hoping for something this year. I know it's not like it look past, because obviously last year they won the Continental Cup. We'll talk, we'll kind of forget them over. And also the fact that the highest team weren't actually able to play, but whatever. But I suppose their goal has always been domestic glory in domestic championships. And I guess they just didn't get what they wanted. And I think this is maybe what they're thinking. Well, Paul Thompson has to kind of be delivered this season. So it'll be interesting to see what that looks like for the Cardiff Devils and how much it's going to be tough. It's going to be.
He's got a big tall order to fill. A lot of this team. Yes, he had a lot to do with recruiting all the new guys, but a big chunk of this team would have been coming back anyway.
Yeah.
he is the sort of coach that can work with what he's got. Come in and just do a job. However, we've seen in Denmark that it takes time to win championships, and I think he needs to be given it. There's a good. He might.
Is that what he's here to do, or is he
Don't
there
know.
to right the ship a little bit, do what Paul Thompson has done over the latter end of his career, which is go places and not just necessarily the elite league, because I think he and Corey Nielsen are now fulfilling very similar roles in
Yeah.
British leagues, which is to come steady a ship, right a ship, and lay the foundations for a transformational change within a team to take a risk on a new
I would hate.
import coach or a player recently moving into coaching, that sort of thing.
I would hate to see
I
that.
really feel that's what he's doing.
I would hate to see Tom Wood reduced to that after taking a team from nothing to the CHL. It's not like he's been coming from a team. It's not like he's came from that role of fix a team. He came from he completely rebuilt that team in Denmark and took it to their first league. I think it was something daft, like 18 years or something. And to go to the CHL, I would hate to see
tell
him.
me, if he does that with Cardiff, if they're looking great, if the Dell comes looking for him in January, does he go or does he stay?
Depends on what he's currently on in Cardiff. You never know. We know that the Elite League as a league can hold on to fairly big name coaches for quite a run. And it really depends on how they've structured his deal. Behind closed doors, it's difficult to know. But I would like to think that he's coming in for at least 2 to 3 seasons.
Yeah.
I would hope it's not just the one.
We're talking like Cardiff are down on their luck and they're playing terrible. Cardiff are a team that always make me nervous. I don't know whether it's that every time I just remember talking about memories of about 10 years in podcasting, going back to a number of playoffs, and the Devils beating us a few times.
Brad Voth.
Yeah, they just always make me nervous. No matter who's in charge, whatever the players, they're always there, and they're always just giving me a little bit of hesitance.
There was it about 5 or 6 seasons under Jerry Adams. Would do that to any team.
Jerry Adams. Jerry Adams was never a Cardiff Devil.
That's a callback joke, isn't it?
I think it is a callback joke. That's worthy of the 10-year anniversary. That's hilarious. Oh wow, very good. Guys, let's move on to Coventry. Coventry's off-season has been a bit of an interesting one. A few staff tweaks, a few interesting signings. But first off, let's have a quick look, just a couple of bits and pieces. Again, we're not covering everything. We'll just kind of maybe mention a few that we didn't mention in the previous podcast. First one we'll mention is Sam Ruffin, American rookie coming from the SPHL, former college star. He's going to join the offense. We have William Boyson, Danish, coming in from the Danish champions teams there, scoring pedigree there. So interesting to see what he does for Coventry. On the crease, there's some changes and some announcements were made. Young player, 19 years old, Joel Berman, risen from the Blaze Academy, joins into the goalie group. And we also have Will Bray, who's a British netminder who has signed a 2-way deal. He'll split his time between the Blaze and also the NIHL team, the Bison. So an interesting, practical and smart move from the Coventry Blaze there. On the coaching side, as I mentioned, Colton Bates steps in as assistant coach. He's 27, fresh off success with the Flyers in MJHL. So that'll be interesting to see how he adds into the dynamic for the coaching side of things. And off ice, we have the jerseys, which have been dropped for 2025-2026, but we're going to come back to that in period 3, and we'll have a quick look at those as well as some of the other jerseys that have been dropped between our last podcast and this podcast. Yeah, let's go for it. Now, the preseason schedule for the Coventry Blaze obviously is starting next weekend, the 29th of August, where they'll go face off against the Milton Keynes Lightning at the Sky Dome. On the 31st of August, they'll go in against the Tilburg Trappers. On the 6th of September, they're away to the Nottingham Panthers. And on the 7th, they have a home game against the Guildford Flames to wrap up their preseason schedule. Let's see, where are we going with 19-year-old Berman and Bray on two-way duty. That kind of interesting goalie depth. John, what's your thoughts? We've talked about these two-way deals before. It's interesting though, because I don't know if we've seen a two-way deal that involves goaltending.
Maybe not. I'm going to defer to Anthony on this one, because I know with it being a Basingstoke signing, Anthony's clearly really happy to see the Bison come back, even with their brand new AI-generated logo. But I think Bray, I've seen his name a few times. He seems to definitely have the talent. I know that Anthony's a big proponent of the guys being given the chance. So Kevin Moore is looking like he's going to give this young guy a chance. So hopefully he gets some ice time. I'd love to see it. Probably depends on how Coventry settle into competitions like the Challenge Cup as we get started in the season. If it looks like, I don't want to say dead, there's no dead rubber games until we get to like February time. So depending on how things go, I hope he gets a shot between the pipes. But these two ways, they're important. We're going to talk about GB slightly later on. There's concern that the new generation of GB talent is not being given the chance to come up through the Elite League. Now, we've seen statements, we've talked about it, that there's now agreement between the governing body and the Elite League. We've seen the word development used in those statements. So maybe we are seeing the direction of travel change slightly. Maybe the relationships that we've seen with certain Elite League teams and certain NIHL teams is starting to change that a little bit. Are we on the cusp of proper affiliations? Quite possibly. I know we're going to talk about something that actually uses that word very shortly. So yeah, maybe that's what we're on the cusp of. But yeah, look, the GB talent that we've currently got right now that's been there for the last 5 to 10 seasons, they're on the way out, guys, and we need to start looking at what's going to come next, because next summer these guys are going to look to maintain top flight status. They've managed to get back there, but the next time round, it could be a very different looking GB setup.
Yep, exactly. Boys, I'm going to keep us moving and move on, and maybe just do one question for each team, if that's okay. Just I'm realizing the time, and kind of just don't want to take up too much time of everybody, give them the late start as well. So I'm going to move on to Dundee Stars next. First off, obviously they have Emil Kruse, Swedish goalie, coming in from the SHL. Forward lines are looking spicy too. Cameron Kelly is coming back for round 2 after 33-point season last year. We also have the likes of Matt Bowden, adding in some solid experience and physicality up front as well for the Dundee Stars. On the blue line, streaming rollout of Justin Bean, Ben Almquist, Brad Schoenberg, Matt Bowden's. Again, yes, forward and is he done as a forward and I don't know. Anyway, I've put him down twice. With more names joining the roster throughout June and August, there was quite a few fast. I suppose it was coming through fast and thick and fast, I suppose, shall we say. Contract wise, though, we did see a very steady stream of returners this season. Spencer Nass, Chris Inglis, Dominic Jelgler, Kanu Yamamoto, Craig Carrigan, Craig Moore, Jarrett Fisk, all coming back. So a lot of continuity there, kind of filtered in with the fresh blood. Dave, kind of, obviously you've got a lot of the old guard there. So you've got Nass, Inglis, Fisk, etc. staying put. For Dundee Stars, they had a very, very, very difficult season last year, finishing, basically near the bottom of the league. Obviously, Fife took the bottom spot last year, but Dundee, struggled times. Do you think this continuity was savvy for them to kind of re-sign all these players, or does it seem a bit stale now, and they maybe should have took a bit more risk?
It's going to be a difficult season for them. With the changes across the road, Fife is a different animal. and will be out to take chunks where it can, and that's exactly where they're taking them. There's not, yes, okay, there's been improvement, that periodic improvement that you see every year on year, but not the same scale that we've seen with some of the other teams in the league. They will be hoping that they can hold out on the chemistry of the returning guys and add an extra sting with the new guys, but I don't think it'll be enough. But we'll have to wait and see. It's easy for us to say that we've been very lucky with the Belfast Giants with the stability we've had with a number of people having big long careers with us, and I'm wondering if they're hoping to do something similar by getting a strong cohort that they can keep around and build on that chemistry with. We'll just have to see how it goes. Personally, don't think it's enough.
Yeah, if it's a slow burn of building up that chemistry, by the time you build up that chemistry, as John already said, maybe they're a bit old and need to move on.
Yeah.
Very quickly, there are two teams that worry me will be languishing at the bottom of the Elite League this season and struggling really badly. Dundee is one of them. We'll come on to talk about the other one soon.
Okay. Yeah. Let's keep the flow going. Let's move on to Fife. First off, as we mentioned in the previous podcast, it is a new era in Fife, and it's officially here. Old guards Tom Moore and Jack Wishart have stepped aside, making way for Max Brebier and a group who've taken over the whole running of the Fife Flyers, the ownership of the Fife Flyers, and he steps in as GM and president. Jamie Russell has been announced as the head coach and associate GM, and Gareth Chalmers joins to steer operations and the commercial strategy there. A new look, not a new look, a slight tweak to the brand, which is really nice. Like us, they have released their jerseys as well and what they might look like. They put out a really nice promotional video. We'll come to that after, John. I hear you, but we will come to that after. But in terms of roster wise, let's talk about the roster. Andrew McLean is one name who is stepping in, Elite League experience under his belt. So he'll add a bit of versatility and a bit of leadership there on the blue line. There was a few visa issues. They had announced Alexander Stenson, but after a number of visa issues, I think he then ended up having to have to move elsewhere, and the Flyers then moved in on Jeremy Masella, who's a 6'5" player coming in from the ECHL. They also have Justin Ducharme, fresh off his Kelly Cup title in the ECHL. So quite a good number of players that they've got coming in, and it looks like it's an exciting time for Fife. Aaron, let's come to you. It's been a while since I asked you a question. Obviously I got John's thoughts on this. John, it was me and John in the podcast the last podcast, and I kind of got his take on it, and I kind of was interested to see what you boys thought about it. Fife, new era, new fresh, refresh of the brand, kind of a few changes to the colors, a bit subtle in terms of some of the stuff they're doing. I mean, fans must be excited in this coming into this season with everything that Fife are doing up there.
It shouldn't just be Fife fans that are excited. Hell, I'm excited. I can't wait to see what Fife do this season. Like, surely everyone here is excited to see what Fife is going to do this season. We know John is. I don't think it's a closet Fife fan anymore. Like, he is a full-on Fife fan, right?
I'm out. I'm officially out.
You're right. Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. I'm so excited to see what Fife do this season. I would love to see them, whether it's that golden movie where they get top tier, or as long as they just get to that middle tier. I think that we'll be very happy with what they've done there and what they've achieved.
Challenge Cup.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
You're going to be asked that later anyway, so
I think I've got it.
We're saving that. We've discussed that. We're saving that to the next podcast.
Okay.
I think actually, Aaron, I mean, it's a good call. I think it is an exciting time, and as you said, I think it is one of those ones where I know I have a soft spot for Fife, and it's a bit like whenever Edinburgh were in this league. I always had a soft spot for Edinburgh because they were the real proper true underdogs of this league, and I just feel like that's exactly what Fife are. And everyone loves a good underdog story. And I am excited to see what happens.
I don't think that's true anymore.
I was going to say,
really
do you see this changing so that, let's say, Fife do well, they become the middle ground or the middle top ground, and then are we going to be like that about Dundee down the line?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. We're going to talk about them because they'll be the next one alphabetically. But Glasgow, I don't know, have upped their game enough to maintain that top Scottish team. Now, that's all being said, there's all the excitement around Fife and everything that goes with new ownership, new investment, new players, a very clear new approach to how to play the game on the ice with the players that they've signed. They've got a near record number of season tickets have been sold for this season alone. If they get those guys through the door every night, that's going to be bigger crowds than they were getting on some nights last season. So like those people have already paid for their tickets. You assume that they will have those crowds. So the excitement is up there. If Glasgow haven't upped their game, I think there's a real big chance that Fife become the Scottish powerhouse. Still with a terrible car park, but they could be the top. Yeah, just a car demolition site. It's like a demolition derby when you go in there.
The surface of the moon.
Yeah, pretty much.
So I guess I know we're going to be coming up to them soon, but last season was a season where we didn't have the three Scottish teams at the very bottom. We had Manchester on there. Do you see, Marty, I may be stealing your thunder here. Do we see that changing?
I'll jump ahead on this because this is where I was coming to. Dundee are the team I think are going to languish near the bottom. The other one is Manchester. I even know that their fans are worried with the signings that they've had. The number of two-ways specifically that roster is being made up of. Marty, I know we're jumping the gun and we're ruining your format here, but we are jumping ahead and we're keeping the timing down as much as possible. So let's just jump straight into it. I think Manchester and Dundee are going to really be the teams to struggle as we go through the season. I don't see either one of them making it through the first stage of the Challenge Cup. And I think they're going to really struggle when it comes to league position. I think every other team, Marty, you said it, has done that progressional update. I think every team is that little bit stronger. I actually think those two have either tread water and stayed at the level they were at or have gotten actually slightly worse.
Yeah. Interesting.
By comparison to the other teams, I think they've gotten slightly worse.
Oh, interesting. Let's move on to Glasgow. John, you mentioned they're up next. So let's talk about Glasgow. And you obviously made your thoughts clear on kind of where you think with Glasgow in terms of, sitting within the Scottish kind of realm. First up, obviously, the Glasgow Clan have announced their captain, Devin Sidroff, is back for another season. He will be coming in and obviously delivering the leadership there for the team again for this coming season. You have Hugo Roy coming in from Nottingham, who's obviously what?
Is he another wah?
He's a wah. I'm not even joking. He's a wah.
What am I missing?
Spelling your name R-O-Y and it being called and it being pronounced wah. There's just not.
That's not wah.
None of those letters make wah.
That's not wah. No, that's not wah. No, sorry.
Vast majority of those ROYs is wah. I'm just telling you.
It's not. Braden Burke comes in from Germany, adding a bit of depth from there. Jake Elmer is coming in as well into the Purple Army. We've got Tristan Langen, who's a Canadian winger, who's two-way player. He's coming in from Norway, I believe. And then on the blue line, you have Brady Keeper. He's coming in with proper kind of grit there, hopefully adding in a bit of physical presence there on the back end for the Clan. And you also have Milky Tepo? Why do I have to say names that I don't know how to pronounce? Who comes in from Liga, who's coming again as well, adding a bit of depth there too. Between the pipes, we have Sami Aito-Kallio. I think I pronounced that one correctly. He's a Finnish veteran coming in with AHL and NHL creds. He'll be joining the Clan's crease. And then obviously he'll be adding to the core who've already been locked in, the likes of Sedroff, as I mentioned already, Swartz, Hurd, Nielsen, Siego, McKay, Hazelden, a couple of others as well who are already still on board for this coming season. Corey Nielsen kicks off the season this coming week, I believe, in Braehead, when they have their preseason, which will start against the Harley Eagles. And then they'll be heading off to Germany's Warrior Invitational, I believe it's called, for a bunch of games there in Germany. John, as you already mentioned them, let's get your take on. I know you kind of already gave your take on, kind of where you say things are, but where do you think then that they kind of need to maybe focus to kind of make sure they're not, that kind of.
There's one thing that they've done that would make me doubt the position I've got on the Scottish team's position and why Glasgow could be still up there, and it's their signing today of joint Canadian and Chinese national Jason Fram. You look at this guy's pedigree, defenseman. He has played since 2020 in the KHL with Kunlun Red Star. He's had one season in the ICHL with Asiago, and then he's going to the Glasgow Clan. He looks incredibly solid as a stay-at-home D-man. The biggest thing with me, though, is he doesn't take a lot of penalty minutes. So he clearly does his job incredibly well, but does it very clean. So that could be huge for Glasgow. I've always felt Glasgow have always had the ability to score goals. What they've lacked is the ability to stop goals. Now, I'm not specifically looking at their net minding here, although they have historically had some questionable net minding, which it looks like they've maybe addressed as well. But this recent signing of Jason Fram, that looks immense. He could be one of the best defensemen in the league this year.
Yep. Let's move on to, let's keep it flowing and move on to Guildford. Let's start off with Guildford and how their pre-season, their off-season. Let's see how that's went so far. So let's look at the, I suppose, returnees, shall we say, first. Marcus Teesink returns for a third season. Left shot defender there who comes in, and obviously is, I think Paul Dixon kind of mentioned, he kind of said after last season's injury chaos, we wanted to ensure we had enough depth, and that's what he's getting from Marcus Teesink. Who else is staying? Well, we've got a bunch of familiar names. We've got Samuel Talbot, we've got Charlie Curdy, we've got Jake Kugler, Ethan Strang, Adam Long, Travis Brown, Matt Alvaro, Jack Kupski, Jack Giacomo, a bunch of other names, but who have we got then coming in new? So some players we've got coming in to help out. We have Ben Solder, who arrives from Milton Keynes, a nice Brit there coming in. We've got Sean Comery, who's coming in, his debut season coming in from the Canadian University Leagues. We've got Jamel Watson returning for, well, a second stint, but bringing in the DL2 experience. He went away and came back. And we're also adding in forwards likes of Tyler Bush, Josh Nixon, and a couple of others as well. What else is happening there for Guildford? Well, not a lot else really. They have announced obviously their supporters pre-season Q&A, meet and greet, and open ice training day, which has been totally sold out. So that's a bit of a buzz going on for the fans there. And at the moment they're kind of doing this thing on Instagram, I believe, of like a Flames on vacation content, which is like 18 days out from pre-season, and different players doing different things on vacation. So yeah, that's pretty much what they've got. The pre-season, as you mentioned, does start on the 30th of August against Amiens at the Spectrum. And I think that is it for them. Dave, we always talk about Guildford. I think, and I caught something that John had said on one of his lives on TikTok there. I think it was maybe yesterday or the day before. I can't remember what day you were on, John. And someone asked about Guildford, and we're talking. It's actually something interesting you said, but I kind of want to get Dave's thought on this. Guildford, for the last two seasons, have been expected to, I suppose, return to a form of a season gone by where they were really dominant. They were leading the league. They obviously kind of fell at the final hurdle of the season. I mean, are we still at a point where the Guildford we're expecting that from Guildford, or are we expecting just a straight on middle of the run team this season?
Guildford are always a bit of a funny one. When their chemistry hits, because the setup of the coach in that team, if the team chemistry works from the get-go, they're dangerous. And that's what we seen 3 seasons ago, where they were flying high. The fantastic coaching in Guildford, and when the chemistry hits straight off the gate, they're dangerous. The problem sometimes they have is it takes them maybe 4 or 5, 6, 7 games, depending on how it runs in, and at that stage in the Elite League, you're already playing catch up, because sometimes you get Sheffield nail themselves to the top of that league, and it's difficult to shift them. Giants have had that issue in the past, where they don't come out of the gate flying, and then they're chasing the leaders. And there's a mental issue there, where you're chasing the lead is more difficult than just keeping it. And I think the year that they were riding high, they hit it early and they stayed there for most of the season. I think if they hit that stride early, we could see something again. One thing I do believe they're in their overtime for is a cup win. There's no reason why they haven't lifted the silverware for the Challenge Cup or the playoffs. If because of any given Sunday, as the cliche goes, they're a team that can win when you have solid coaching, like they have, and a solid returning core. There should be no reason why they're not winning those games, especially in the Challenge Cup in the early part of the season, and then those one-off knockouts. Anything goes. We will find out really quickly what Guildford team will see when we get the first few games of the season out of the way. I think when they're trying to play catch up, as I've said, they struggle. There's a mental break that makes it more difficult for them to catch up.
Yeah.
I know we're talking about Guildford having a show of form, but you're only really talking 1 year there. Like every year they finish fifth or sixth, right? I just kind of skimming through it, and I'm going back to 2000.
The two runners up for the Challenge Cup as well, though, in that mix, which is pretty damn good too.
Yeah, fair. Well,
yeah.
The one that
I
the one that
I
they were
just think they're a
second.
team that needs identity. I think that's my biggest thing with. There are a number of returnees, but I don't know what that team. Admittedly, we're Belfast Giants fans. We try to go across the board here, but more often than not, a little bit more of our attention goes to the guys in teal. And I'll be totally honest, to the teams that I know are going to be towards the top, because I want to pay attention to them. So I look at the Sheffields, I look at the Nottinghams, I sometimes pay attention to the Cardiffs. Guildford, I have to be totally honest, have been one of those teams that I have, not for lack of them trying, because they've got some of the best socials out there as well, but for what's there, what's been signed, I don't know how that team is geared up to perform. I'm actually more interested to see them get started with their preseason than almost any other team, because I want to see what is being put together. So I'll wait and see what Paul Dixon has put together this season. I would love to see them at the top end, but they always feel rooted to the middle.
Yeah. Let's move on to Manchester. And again, we talked about Manchester, and Johnny had highlighted a couple of fans through interactions and engagement you've had, kind of had their concern for the Manchester Storm coming to this season. Manchester has been busy no matter what, even if you can't argue they have been busy behind the scenes in this off-season, 2025-2026 off-season, looking at new faces, goalie upgrades, as well as some grassroots stuff that's happening, and we will come on to one of those grassroots stuff later in the period. But first up, I suppose let's have a quick look at some of those signings and some of the returnees. First up, back on the blue line for another season will be Zach Sullivan. This will be his 6th season, I believe, adding up to nearly 500 Elite League games this coming season. So again, that's another quality, I suppose, leadership there to have on the ice and also in the back room. They've also dipped into Europe and North America. They signed Nicholas Welch, who's a Canadian player who has Liga AHL experience. They have also signed Drew McCryder, who comes in as a goaltender. He comes in as an American who from the NCAA who won gold with Michigan State, and also has some reliable stats from the ECHL. In development news, I suppose we've got, they had an announcement of Theo Malone, who's a young player who comes in from the academy. He's just graduated into the elite development program as part of thing, vertical integration with Storm to kind of move forward. We're going to talk about development and affiliations next. or in the next section of the period. So let's come back to that later. And the other thing that they mentioned, and we talked about this with the Belfast Giants earlier, but the community and importance of community support. The Manchester Storm announced the launch of what they call Storm in the Community, which is their way of giving back to the community of Manchester, which is a lot of good, exciting stuff going on there back in the background and in the back office. So interesting things happening in Manchester. Whether or not fans are concerned, there is still stuff going on. Aaron, I mean, obviously John had mentioned about Manchester and about the concern there for Manchester. Would you have a similar concern? Do you think, given the fact that Manchester ended where they did last year, I think it was second last year. I mean, they can improve on that coming into this season.
You would hope so. Yeah, the second last year and fourth the year before. So I was looking back through their last couple of standings over the last couple of years. They are a bit all over the show. They you can't say that they're like the Guildford Flames where it's a fifth and sixth kind of constantly. Manchester Storm are fourth last, well, second last. They're a bit all over the standing of the leagues. Similar to John, it's not a team that I follow that often, but when John kind of mentioned that the fans are worried, then if they're worried, they're the ones that are keeping an eye and looking at the actual the new recruits and stuff like that. So if they're concerned, that is something to be said. John, what were there any particular comments that stood out to you?
No, nothing. It's just the general feel is that a couple of Manchester fans who've been sort of interacting on TikTok especially, they do seem to be particularly concerned that they don't think the same advances have been made by their team as what have been made elsewhere. And I think, like, when you look through the roster, I can see that. There has been a very heavy lean to the two ways. Marty, like you said, we're going to talk. I don't know if it's worth just bringing it up just now, to be honest, while we're chatting here, that Manchester have added the Seahawks as an affiliate, so they'll be working on that development pathway with the Seahawks and looking to bring the young British talent up through. And I think I'm right in saying that this is the first time that, other than shared ownership that we've got in Sheffield, I think that's the first time we've seen the word affiliate used.
Yeah.
When we talk about these sort of relationships between these teams. So, like I said earlier, maybe this is the way that things are going to go. This is the direction of travel. So I think the heavy lean on these, I'm not having a go at the young Brits at all, but I think a heavy reliance on bringing in those young Brits to make up the numbers has a few of the fans a little bit worried, especially when they see the signings that are being made elsewhere. Like, let alone the top end teams. Like, if you're a Manchester Storm fan, you hope you're going to go in and do an absolute barnstormer and win the league. But you know fine rightly that you're looking at maybe the Challenge Cup, and your hope is to be in the top 8 to make a little bit of postseason hockey. That's what you're looking for. If I'm a Manchester fan and I'm looking at the advances that Fife have made in one off season with new owners, then I'd be especially worried. Let alone the fact that they've got a brand new coach coming in the shape of Cam Critchlow this year. He's going to be in his virgin coaching year, so he's got a lot to prove, and that setup is, I mean, that's quite daunting when you put all of that together into one big single package.
Yeah.
One of the things we're talking about the affiliates there, and I know we are going to talk. Sorry, Marty, we're ruining your schedule here.
No, it's okay.
We're talking about the affiliates. We've been talking about the affiliate program and being able to bring up the young talent for years. And here's a team that's doing it, and we're concerned about it. Is that not like kind of you can't have your cake and eat it? Like, is it just the amount of players that we're worrying about the two-way?
I mean, from point of view of, I think it's different. So we've had two-way players that have come in from different teams to different teams from different teams. Like, we've never had. John's right.
Max Stewart,
we have
Mason Alderson. They've had those two-way deals.
Yeah.
But they play one or two games. There's not that reliance on them to make up the numbers. Now, what I will say is, I just flashed it up there for 2 seconds. What I will say is Anthony's been in there. I've missed this one on Banners on the Wall. Manchester own the contracts, but they'll play the majority of their games with Hull. Source for
Yes.
that being Anthony's interview with Matty Davies on Banners on the Wall. So I will be sure to go and check that out as soon as we're done here.
Yes, I was going to cover that. What I was going to say is that, as you were saying, John, you did have Steelers, obviously, who have ownership, so therefore the affiliate was kind of natural. And they were the first ones to kind of do in a proper affiliate where they were associated with one specific team. The likes of the Belfast Giants brought in two-way players that weren't specifically, from one team. They were from various different teams in that league. Manchester have officially announced, obviously, with the Hull Seahawks, that this is a proper partnership where their affiliation will be that there is two-way between both teams. As John mentioned, three particular of the Storms juniors, Noah Carey-Einen, Josh Crawley, and Theo Malone, they're going to split their time this season training with the Storm but playing for the Seahawks. And I suppose it's a proper development type idea where they kind of could be called in at any point if they really not wanted to. Ryan Finnerty did say that this is kind of a good way to kind of get that young crop of next talent players to come through. And then on the other side, Matty Davis from Hull kind of said that this is a massive moment for British hockey because it's a proper pathway that, and previously it's been blurry in the past where, it was kind of like there wasn't a very clear, distinct line between two-way players and teams and whatever it is. But this way, he sees this as like a proper partnership, which legitimizes the chances for homegrown youth to kind of then develop and move on to those higher leagues, i.e. the Elite League. So I suppose that's kind of what he's saying. What is interesting though, and I should mention as well in my little rundown of Manchester before we move on to our next team, the preseason friendly on the 31st of August in Altrincham is the Manchester Storm versus the Hull Seahawks. So that will be their little preseason game on the 31st of August. Boys, we're happy to move on to the last two teams.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Let's move on to I suppose the two teams who probably would be up there looking at the top of the league and trying to aim to kind of dethrone the Belfast Giants from last season. Nottingham Panthers coming off a playoff win in 2024-2025 are moving into the season to try and I suppose build on that win. They're looking at big things coming this season. First up, I suppose they have Matt Markanu, who's joining the squad. He's nearly a point per game record in the ECHL in Del 2. So big name there. A player who's coming in who has already caused a bit of controversy on social media. Cheers Pearson has signed. He's a former NHL brief caller with the Red Wings. He's an NCAA captain at Maine. He brings in a bit of grit and a bit of scoring flair, but also a few comments on social media triggered some people, I think that's been a very interesting start to his career in the Elite League. At the back we have David Noel, who hits the blue line, two-way defensive man who racked up success in Liga, KMJHL. He, I suppose, is apparently captained everywhere he's been, so I suppose that's a great nod to the Panthers to have such good strength in terms of leadership there in the back, even if he isn't taking on a leadership role. We also have Rossa Moore, who's a big center, net front hungry power play player. Coach Stewart sees him as a massive piece to his team. On the home front, we have Matt Spencer, who's back. He played every game last season. Some big moments played for him. We have some homegrown talent as well, some really young players. We talked about two-way players. We've got some more for the Nottingham Panthers. We have Milke Martelli, who's 21. He's coming in, and then we have a local teenager. I think I got this right, Alex Rushby. And Rushby had 75 points in NIHL 1 last season. Anthony, you can correct me if I'm wrong. And I think he's only 16 or 17, so pretty young as well. So on that continuity, obviously he has some obviously core cast coming back as well on top of that too. So a lot of stuff going on there, a lot of depth, a lot of youth being sprinkled in with some returnees and some I suppose strong leadership roles coming in as well. John, Nottingham, as I mentioned, coming off playoff win, their fans and also probably the back staff and also the coaching team as well, they'll be coming in all guns blazing this coming season, looking to try and clinch one of those other two trophies and potentially retain the playoffs. Nottingham, interesting team this year on the books.
They're an enormous looking team going into this season. I still stand that one of the biggest re-signings by any Elite League team was the early re-signing of Jason Grandy. And I'm not just saying that because it got a lot of attention when I did a video on him on our TikTok channel, which secured the Nottingham Panthers coming on this season to the podcast. I stand by the fact that I think he had arguably probably the best half a season of any Elite League netminder in history, to backstop that team last year to winning the playoffs from where they were. You could see the upward progression of the Panthers. They were still in the running for the league until the last weekend. That's how good they got in the latter end. He gets a full season healthy between the pipes for them, plus all of these other. I genuinely think they've massively improved this season as well. They are an absolute force going into the 2025-26 season.
And you can tell from the comments from Jack, like, even though it's just text, you can see the excitement there, right? I think Jack's ready for an epic season.
I think he is.
They're going to be one hell of a team. They're going to be Nottingham. One thing you always guarantee from a Nottingham team is a team that's going to be really interesting to watch. But I think this year they now have the team to back that up. They have the ability, they have the coaching, and they've now got they put all that together. You know, I could see us staring down a very dangerous Nottingham team all season long.
Do you know what? From a Belfast fan perspective, it's great because I absolutely love the rivalry with Nottingham.
Mm-hmm.
I've never really bought into the rivalry. It's almost like a fake rivalry that Belfast and Sheffield had, and it all came from Fretter Galacos. It all came from that whole coming together. Up until that point, Sheffield were another strong team, yes, but we never had a particular rivalry with them. Since the Fretter Galacos thing, since the Dops thing, since it took them 2 games to sort it out between the players because Dops pooped the bed, like, that's felt completely artificial. Whereas the proper, when I first started coming to the Giants like 16 years ago, that always felt like the proper rivalry. And to have that back,
never forgive, never forget,
because Nottingham are going to be up there. I can't wait to have it back. I really, really can't wait to have it back.
You stole it from me, Dave. You did. You stole it from me. I was going to say there's a reason why we say never forget, never forgive, never forget.
Imagine a Dave on a podcast saying never forgive, never forget.
I gotta agree. Before we move on to Sheffield, I just wanted to come in on this. I gotta agree with this Nottingham stuff. With Nottingham this season, they do genuinely put a bit of fear in me this season. They do look like they are a team that are going to be just gung ho right from the very start. Not to put pressure on them, but I genuinely do think Nottingham are going to be a different kettle of fish this year. And I you know what, it's as you say, John, I mean, it all it'll do is create excitement. We want as much competitive play as we can, and a competitive Nottingham from day one is what we want. Even if it is scary thought, but that's what we want.
Can I just point out one other thing that it just occurred to me right the second before Jack put this in the comments, was actually about the return of Kevin Carr as well as the second import netminder for the Nottingham Panthers this year. He obviously had his time in Dundee. Now he's going back to Nottingham again. That's exciting because he's an exceptional netminder as well. But let alone all the extra social media clout that comes because Jo, his wife, is probably one of the most followed hockey partners out there. She shows pretty much everything. I learned more about Dundee in her time in Dundee than I did, and I live 20 miles away from Dundee and have done for most of my life. So yeah, Carsey coming back is massive for them as well.
You lived in Ballymena for 30 years of it.
But you wouldn't go up that far. She'd end up with a third finger or sixth toe.
Many Taysiders would say the opposite, mate.
Let's move on to our last team, and this will be the last team that will be legitimately vying for those championships. Not saying the others aren't, but you know, Sheffield will be definitely one of the teams there. Sheffield. Let's start with the spine of the team. Robert Dowd will be coming back for his 18th season with the Steelers, their all-time top goal scorer. We've got Kevin Tansey, who's a big defenseman with AHL and Elite League savvy roots, and he obviously knows his thing here in the Elite League, so he'll be coming back. And we have Reece Kelly, who moves in from the Clam and alumni who's coming in as versatile and gritty player as well there. From fresh faces this coming season for the Sheffield Steelers, we've got Logan Nelson coming in from Nottingham. We have Derek Gentile, we've got Ryan Tate and Cliff Poo. How do you pronounce that one? P-U? Yeah. All adding depth across there from Europe. We also have on the blue line Liam Steele, NCAA pedigree, Jordan Southorn adding size and composure, and then we obviously have Alex O'Dowd, who's coming in on a two-way deal as well. See, I don't think I've missed anything else. The ones I just want to cover from our last episode, I guess, because in the last episode we covered quite a few of them. Some headline grabbers. We've got Stephen Harper. He's a massive center coming in from Grazier 99ers. He was Fox's final summer signing, I think. He's a big player, and I suppose they're hoping he's going to light up the net a bit there as well. Preseason is coming fast. Their puck drops on the 30th of August against the Cardiff Devils in Utility Arena. I think that's pretty much it. Dave, we'll go with you with the last question for this part of the section anyway. Obviously, we see what Fox is putting together for this season. Coming off last season, obviously they had their Grand Slam season. Last season was a bit of a damn squib for them in terms of coming away with nothing. This season for Foxy, what's that going to have to be for him? Like, what is this? We know Sheffield ownership. We know how strong, we know what they're like when it comes to expectations for this team. Obviously, they expect this team to be a winning team, and obviously being competitive. What's Foxy going to have to do this season?
He's backed himself into the same corner he had before they won the league. That team cannot function without a cup. Its identity struggles when they're not a title holder. It doesn't make it any better because yes, the Giants won again, but Nottingham have a cup, and that stings. In their eyes, they're the best team in the league, the biggest team in the league, biggest highest attendance team in the league, and they're right. But that only matters as if you can put your product on the ice. Now, I'm not saying they don't. They have a fantastic team, and they always have, but they don't have the composure when it matters. Just look at all the broken iPads scattered around that arena. People gurn about Adam Keefe losing his temper, and he's passionate. But Foxy loses the temper every time there's a bad penalty in his eyes, and that's every penalty. And that feeds into the team. The ability to handle the composure when it matters is something they've lacked for the last few seasons. Yes, they won the league. Good job. But they've struggled to build a dynasty, a proper history to build it up on. And that's what I think they're going to have the same this year. They might come away with something, and he'll be able to prove that all this hard work's paid off. But they haven't been able to do what the Giants have done. Now, the Giants have been special. Don't get me wrong. That doesn't happen all the time. But the Steelers think that should be them. Steelers think that is them. And that's their biggest shortcoming. It's not about the product they put on the ice. They do that. The problem is that they don't have the composure and the ability to just sit back and win games, and when you lose a game, get back on the horse and win the next one. And that's what we've seen. They'll lose a game, but they'll lose 2 or 3 in the trot, and that's the issue I always see with Sheffield. And so I think that
because it's not
it's Foxy. It's Adam Fox. He's too quick to point out everybody else's shortcomings. It's never his fault. It's the officiating. It's not his fault. It was the Giants did something, or Cardiff did something. Where you've seen days where Adam Keefe has pretty much said, "Team didn't do well enough. That's my fault," and that's what very rarely do you see Adam Fox do that. Aaron Fox, sorry.
Yeah. exactly.
Sorry, I get lost. I get lost every time someone says when you fall off that horse, because all I can think of is you fall off that horse, you get straight back up, and you eat that horse.
Oh, I wish I had said that too.
Boys, does anybody have anything else they want to comment on that before we move on to our last story for this period?
I think it's going to be an exciting season. We've talked about there are some middle ground. Not everyone can have a strong team and change it around like Nottingham have and all that kind of stuff, or the Fife have. But we're in for an exciting season.
Yeah, 100%. I definitely think this one is definitely looking to be a very, very, very exciting one. And as
yourself
John kind of mentioned together of how we think the league.
Oh,
exactly.
Oh,
What?
don't say we lost him.
Yeah, we lost him. I had a really important question to ask him with the likes of Sheffield Steelers and Nottingham Panthers doing so well. What's his jersey or his hoodie going to be when he needs to hide when it goes into overtime?
I mean, with 3 or 4 really strong teams, he's going to need one that encompasses the entire of Row E at Dortmund team for all of us to hide in.
It's a good chance it's going to happen a lot. You back, Marty? Nope.
Oh no!
Anyone know what the next story was?
The new IIHF rule changes.
I think we were going to skip that, but until Marty gets back, let's just go into it.
He's away.
It's that bad. Fully. Do you know what? Then we're gonna skip the rule changes, guys. I am gonna pull the co-host extraordinaire thing, and I'm gonna pull it. We'll come back to the rule changes. There's one in particular which has come through the rule book, which is worth talking about. But actually, I want to get Marty's take on it, so we're gonna skip it. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna scoot straight on. And I'm going to try the new graphic this time. We're going to go right in to period 2.
Woo!
Look at that. It worked and everything. Well done, Marty. It worked. Guys, period 2 is where we talk about stuff in the international game. So what I want to do first and foremost is I'm not going to go with the way that they're presented in the list in our running order. What I want to do is I want to talk about the Conti Cup first. So the Conti Cup announced today that the schedule has been confirmed and that there's going to be a very, very slight change in the way that things are going to work this time around. The 2026 IIHF Continental Cup groups are set, and the tournament's final will see 6 teams compete across the final weekend, not the usual 4. So 14 teams from across Europe are aiming to reach the final, which will be played and is confirmed to be played in Nottingham at the NIC. That means that the hosts, Nottingham Panthers, have a bye all the way through to the final. So I'll go through the others. I'm not going to go through what all the other 13 teams are. But round 1 will be played in October in Lithuania. Amongst a number of teams. This is terrible. I'm like jumping in and trying to do this last minute. I'm trying to read through this and present it as if I have all the knowledge.
Do you know what it is though? Just to ruin it, Alman. It's his story, by the way.
It is my story. I put it in because I saw it.
See, this is why I normally do period 2, because I can lie.
You can say, John, you have a story on the Conti Cup.
Yeah. And when I start talking about it, it sounds like I know what I'm talking about. Where whenever you're trying to sort of vamp, it's not really working for you.
That's true. The second round, thanks for that quick little vamp there, because that gave me a chance to read ahead there.
That's what I'm here for.
The winners of the first stage will progress to stage 2, where 4 teams will play in France. The team Angers Ducks will host in France, along with Italy's SC Cortina, who have already been awarded a bye to this round. 2 teams will progress from that and will play the 4 teams who already have a bye through to the final. The Nottingham Panthers, as I mentioned, as hosts, have a bye all the way through. The Torpedo from Kazakhstan, our good friends GKS Katowice from Poland also have a bye through, as do Herning Blue Frogs from Denmark. So we've got 2 stages. We see 2 teams come through from that to play those 4 teams, and we'll have a 6-team 2-table system, which will see 2 separate parts to the final weekend. So it'll be 2 groups of 3 will sort of run through, and then we'll have a winner at the end of it somehow. But the final will be in January in Nottingham. So
That
Nottingham
will
have got
be
the home advantage straight away.
that will be one of the sort of premier hockey weekends. That 6-team tournament is going to be phenomenal. I think that's a fantastic idea. And it's, you can't, that's just adding it's just ramping up what we already love about the Continental Cup, up to 11. You're having the opportunity to see so much hockey from around the world in one city, and you get to see a trophy decided, all in the mix. You get this melting pot of hockey traditions all in the one place.
Aaron,
I think this is fantastic.
Plus,
sorry,
it's
Aaron.
Go ahead.
Yep. Sorry. Yeah, you're right. It's Nottingham as well. But Aaron, are you excited to potentially see? I mean, this will be the second Conti Cup in a row, the grand final to be held in the UK. It was held in Cardiff last season when they won the shortened version because the top seed couldn't come through because they couldn't get visas. But this time, Nottingham will be up against effectively 5 other teams. Surely that makes for a more exciting and more meaningful win should they take the dinner plate of destiny.
Well, maybe, what am I missing? So they get all the way through just because they're hosting it. Like they don't have to play round 1 and 2.
Those 4 teams have got a bye all the way through to the final.
Wow, that's it. And did that happen last year with Cardiff?
No, they had to play through the first of the elimination rounds. They got a bye to round 2, and then had to play for their position, and then they bid for the final, and they got it. So clearly, Nottingham have bid for the final. Now, I don't know. We don't know exactly how it's worked. We don't know if they bid for the final, got it, and therefore they get to stay.
They don't have to worry about bidding. Well, that's class.
But effectively, that's what's happened. But I actually genuinely think that now, as far as the Conti Cup's concerned, I think the EIHL is seen as one of the strong leagues for this end of things. So it's fantastic to see.
Gives us another chance for. I appreciate it's not playoff weekends, but it's essentially another playoff weekend, right? Get to go to Nottingham, get to soak up the world, get to soak up hockey, and meet some fans.
Now that being said, we're not going to get a bye weekend in the Elite League. So it will effectively just be Nottingham fans who will be there, but. I think if you had the opportunity to go, if your team was traveling away and you got the opportunity to go, I think a tournament like this with 5 visiting European teams, I think that's a cracking weekend just waiting to happen.
100%.
Guys, I'm going to move us on swiftly, and I'm going to talk about that other European competition, but this time the one that the Belfast Giants are taking part in, and that's the Champions Hockey League. Why am I talking about the Champions Hockey League? Because they are coming out with...
Because the Giants are up?
Yeah, effectively. If this had happened and the Giants weren't playing, we probably wouldn't talk about it, to be honest.
Skip it. Yeah.
But the CHL are bringing in a new overtime rule for the 2025-26 season. It's being called the no return rule. Now, I'm going to read this verbatim so that it makes sense, and I'm not going to try and BS my way through it. The no-return rule will prohibit teams in control of the puck in the attacking zone from going back into the neutral zone during overtime. Should the rule be infringed, play will be blown down and the resulting face-off will take place in the offending team's defensive zone. The rule is designed to counteract the recent trend of teams going backwards and regrouping under minimal pressure. which has reduced the intensity of 3-on-3 play and led to a higher percentage of games needing to be decided in the shootout. So, guys, effectively what they're saying is that one of your 3 players on the ice can't skate the puck right the way back behind your own netminder and therefore allow for an easy line change. What they want is the pressure to be maintained within the attacking zone. Now, my question is, Dave, if teams don't feel like they're set up on the rush properly, do we see a situation where teams sit in the neutral zone before moving into the attacking zone, take a line change? The pressure's still on the defensive team, even if they don't move into the offensive zone. So do we see just that pressure happen in the neutral zone, in the middle of the ice, rather than in the attacking zone?
Yeah, you might see a lot of pre-break changes with like the team moving up before they head into the neutral zone, then cycle back, let players get off. It'll take a lot of sort of rebuilding and that sort of idea. 'Cause the Giants would have done that on their 3-on-3 OT. They would have cycled the puck carrier back, not necessarily all the way back to the net, but enough that they could get one guy out or 2 guys out. What we will see is more, blasts from the point where they'll hope it will dish the puck. They'll blast it, hope that it doesn't get picked up by anybody and dishes round. They go for their change and then recover their own puck. You never know. Catch it before it goes for icing. Or they'll just hope for the lucky puck for the net. If you've got sort of tired bodies or whatever. Oh, he's back!
There he is.
Hello.
Yeah, move me. I look weird in the top corner.
Down technical issues going on there. Apologies,
You're
everyone.
back, buddy. We're not going to go back a story. I'm just going to bring you in on this one. I did the only reasonable thing, and I took a decision to take over completely. So I'm glad you're back. But
He
then we
said
suddenly
he
realised.
kicked you out. He done it on
I feel
purpose.
he probably did. Let's be honest.
tell him. Marty, I'm going to ask you just a very quick question on this one. We've already talked about the Conti Cup. We're talking about the CHL rule change now, and the question I asked Dave was, because teams are not going to be able to come back into the defensive zone and get what is effectively a cheap and easy line change, do we think we'll see more play in the neutral zone, teams only pressing up as far as the blue line before they decide, no, we're not set up for this, we're going to come back, we're going to get that cheap line change, then we'll step in once we're fresh? But on the flip side, do you think this, like, maybe I'm being overly pessimistic with that, do you think that we see more games in the CHL, if they go to overtime, decided in 3-on-3? Do we have less that go to the penalty shootout?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I think it'll still go to the penalty shootout. I don't think it'll be settled on 3-on-3. I mean, we've seen 3-on-3. It doesn't necessarily. No, yeah. Sorry, I'm kind of just trying to catch up with what was going on. But yeah, no. In short, no. I don't think it's going to change anything. I don't think 3-on-3 is going to be where the games are going to be ended. I think it's still going to go to shootout.
Okay, Aaron, I haven't asked you yet. I'm just going to casually ask you, do you think we're going to see many changes, or are you on the other camp? Do you think this will make 3-on-3 more exciting, more big breakaways going the other way because there's tired legs moving into the offensive zone? What do you make of it?
I think that when it's getting to that point, there's already pressure. So being able to come back to the neutral zone for the team to regroup and get those legs back has slowed the game down sometimes. So I actually do think it's going to speed up the game. Again, they only can't take it back to the neutral zone if the other team get the puck and head it back up and they grab the puck in the neutral zone. That's okay, right? Does that make sense?
It does.
No. But it's only if they bring it back to the neutral zone that it's against the rules.
Scott's in there saying that we should be using the KHL rule instead, where you can't go back over center ice, over the red line. The new one, he says, with it being the offensive blue line, is a bit meh. Maybe they're right, but maybe we'll get this one season where they use the offensive blue line and then they just decide to progress on and go, do you know what? We're gonna make it the red line. After that, you can't cycle backwards. We'll see.
Makes sense.
Marty, I'm just going to crack on with the remainder of Period 2 here. The last story to talk about here is we have got the 2026 World Championship schedule has been announced. Team GB have had their games, their schedule. It's out there now. We know what they're going to be doing when it comes to Switzerland in the cities of Zurich and Freiburg. Guys, I'm going to rattle through the games and just let you know. The first game will be on Saturday, the 16th of May. GB will play Austria. I very nearly said Australia there and then caught myself on a little bit. The following day, the 17th of May, GB will play the USA. The next day after their opening game, they go up against one of the big ones. 2 days later, on the 19th of May, they will play Hungary. Then, on the 21st of May, they will play Switzerland. On the 22nd, they will play Finland. On the 24th, they will play Latvia. And on the 25th of May, which I believe is a bank holiday, they will play Germany in what could be a very interesting game. Anthony, I did see you posting that as potentially being a relegation saving game on a bank holiday, so I assume there will be an enormous GB Barmy Army presence for that game in particular. Guys, we talked a little earlier on about GB, the future of GB. We now know what they're up against when it comes to staying in top flight. We know what they're coming up against next May. Any early thoughts on that schedule in particular? Dave, come to you first.
Wee ones. I don't know. It's gonna be. We're in the territory. We talked about it before. We're in the territory now where the likes of people who are closer to the roots of the game will be able to probably talk better. People who've more knowledge of the under 21s and stuff, because we should start seeing some of those guys step up. It's not. It's hard for me, especially because the Elite League has been so disconnected with the rest of the UK ice hockey. And it's another rant we don't want to have to go down. And everybody here agrees that there needs to be better options the whole way through. It's just not there at the minute. But we've ended up with this team we've seen it under Tony Hand, this sort of ailing team. I'm not saying that the team we currently have is bad by any stretch. Obviously, they proved themselves, and I think they can still win games, and they're still going to do they're going to do unbelievable things with what they've been set up to do. My concern is, as John, you mentioned earlier, it's not this year. It's next year, the year after. It's and all the wins in the world this year isn't really going to help in the future, and I don't think that there's enough focus on that. There's definitely the focus in the leagues below, and it's to the Elite League's detriment that there hasn't been.
I'll counter that, because a lot of the stuff that's been coming out of Ice Hockey UK and Henry Stallings, I genuinely think that there is a move now to address those concerns. The fact that we've had joint, I'm probably talking back on what I said earlier on, but there's been talk of that, how the Elite League fits into the overall development of the Team GB setup. They've agreed that the Elite League has a part to play. We've had our chair, who's not the chair. There doesn't seem to be a new chair, so it's still Tony Smith, giving that sort of statement, and I think that was towards the end of last season. We saw that joint statement between Ice Hockey UK and the Elite League. There are now, I believe, the discussions about a combined body is back on the table again between English ice hockey and the SHL about having a unified body for hockey. Those are the conversations
100%.
that need to be had. And actually, since Henry Stallings came on board, there's been some of the biggest moves forward I think I've seen in that whole approach to how things are going. I still worry, and I've said in a couple of videos, I've said in quite a few lives, that if the import level in the Elite League continues to go up, I think we're probably looking down the barrel of another Super League situation. which is certainly not going to help the GB setup at all. We'll probably see what happened again. We'll have an implosion again, and it'll take us a decade to recover from that. And by that point, we're down in the bottom flights of international hockey again. So I don't know.
And it sounds that's a really good example, John, that you just brought up there with the failure of the Super League, the Super League's existence, and then the failure of the Super League, and where GB was at that time. But with the the reduced import limit of the Elite League when it first started, and its build up over the last 10 years or however long it's been, and the rise of GB through the international systems, just proves that how much the Elite League needs to be part of that over nationwide structure. I also think that there should be as we've already talked about, a single governing body, not just for England and Scotland and for Wales. They have to think about Northern Ireland as well. Every single discussion, they just lump Northern Ireland in under the SHL, which they are not. They're not part of that. Not who governs the Northern Ireland. It's the Irish Ice Hockey Federation that covers that, and are generally not in the room whenever those discussions are made, just because there's only one rink and it's a smaller group and there isn't as many players coming out. But if you look at now, we've Stuart moving to Coventry. Kyle Beattie has re-signed as the two-way for the Giants. We're starting to see people coming out of our system, and at the minute they are lost in that sort of UK progression. We haven't seen a GB player since Graham Walton, for example. So,
but we talked earlier about Manchester and this new affiliates. Not, first time we've been using that word. So I appreciate that. That's one side of the coin. We also talked about the other side of the coin, where things are happening. It's not going to happen next year. Or it's not going to fix it for next year or anything like that. But there are things happening to bring up the young talent.
It's not the only thing happening as well. And Marty and I spoke about it in the last podcast, which is why I wasn't going to bring it up here. But Jack has thrown it in the comments here, which is about the combination approach between Ice Hockey UK and the NHL to bring street hockey to the UK. Yep. There's 6 cities. We talked about it last time. Go back to the last episode and hear me and Marty talk about it. But that's a big step forward.
We also have the benefit of
people to the game.
We also have the benefit of the Friendship 4 and all this jazz. But there needs to be there's loads of stuff happening, but they're all happening in silo. And we don't have a governing body across the entire of the UK to steer the ship. We know the Friendship 4 is fantastic for youngsters that are watching the game, getting interested because they're seeing people closer to their age, and they're meeting, people in the schools that see it as an athletic progress for going to university and things like that. And we've seen a few already take that up. We're seeing a massive uptake in US sports in Ireland, with a lot of guys going on US scholarships for American football and for basketball. There was the first Irish draftee to the NBA this year, but we're still only getting half the picture. We're not getting there's not a single body that's pushing this for the whole of the UK, and I think we're sort of getting left behind, especially Northern Ireland, considering how successful the Giants have been, and how successful their growth is becoming. But they're not part of the overall chat for the future growth of the sport. You would have expected to see at least one other player play for the senior GB. We just haven't had the development set up, and I think that's a big chunk of that, is not having the right governing body in place.
That's true. Guys, I'm aware we need to probably start watching the clock now. We are already just shy of an hour and 50 minutes, and we still have a period to go, which is our bread and butter, because we're going to start looking at jerseys. So, unless anyone has any burning comments to make here on period 2, I'm going to move us swiftly on to period 3. Period 3 is our general Knocky news. The more things change, the more they stay the same. Knocky News will never change. Knocky News is where we talk about anything and everything else in the world of hockey, and it just so happens to be the place where we get to talk about the thing that we love the most, which is generally new hockey jerseys. And this time of year is when we get lots and lots to talk about, guys. So I'm not going to waste any time. I'm going to get stuck right in, and we're going to throw up the slides. If you're on the video podcast, you will now start to see, hopefully, some slides. So, guys, we are basically going to go in the order by which these jerseys have been released over the last week and a half, 2 weeks. We started to see things getting thrown out there. Now, we did mention at the very top when we were talking about the different teams, Marty, you mentioned about the Flyers and their new look. I have made a conscious decision not to put the Flyers jerseys in here because we talked about it on the last podcast. We did see what they'd released, but we're only going to come back to talk about them when they put their sponsors on those jerseys, because we know, especially with these first jerseys that we're going to talk about, the sponsors can make all the difference. The first jerseys that we're looking at then are the Dundee Stars. They have unveiled their home, away, and alternate jerseys. Guys, the home is the blue, the away is the white, and the alternate, which I assume is going to be their Challenge Cup, is going to be their red jersey. Guys, they're pretty much the same as what we've seen before. They've made some slight tweaks and changes. The biggest one being the change in their title sponsor away from Trademark to MKM. However, the colours pretty much stay the same. The big colour block is gone, but the yellow and white is still in there. Marty, come to you first because it's been a long time since you spoke, since you dropped off for a little while there. So what do you make of the Dundee Stars threads for this season?
I'm trying to find some kind of nice positive thing to say. Maybe the white one's the nicest out of the three of them. Is that the nicest thing I can say? I genuinely, yeah, they just don't hit. They're still just a bit blah, to be honest. It looks slightly better than the previous sponsorship deal. But again, my eye was drawn straight to the MKM again rather than the actual Dundee logo.
It's huge.
That's what I'm saying. I was drawn straight into MKM on it. And yeah, I don't know. It just doesn't. Still, again, I think they lose something.
Sorry, Aaron, you've disappeared there for a couple of seconds while I'll put this comment up there. But there's been pretty similar comments as I've talked about this on TikTok. Red, best of a bad bunch, and the logo needs major work. That's a pretty standard thing. I genuinely think that the Stars have the weakest logo within the Elite League. Aaron, what's your take on the Stars threads for 25-26?
Nothing nice to say. Don't say it. No, there's not. It's not terrible. I agree with Jack. Actually, I think the red is the best out of the bad bunch. But if they were able to reduce the size of the main logo of this main sponsor logo, I don't think it's that bad. The Dundee logo, it's just, I guess it is a bit dated now compared to everything else, but it's still it's vintage, right? But yeah, I agree with Jack. Red's the best of the bad bunch.
Okay, Dave, come to you last on this one. Dundee Stars, improvement, disimprove. Disimprove? That's not a word.
Disimproved.
That's not a word.
Actually, it might be the best word that describes this jersey is it's disimproved.
They're not great. They're better than one other jersey that we're going to talk about later, but they're just not. They're not. They're all right.
Okay, right. Let's move on. Let's move on. We're sticking with the Elite League to start with, guys. The next ones to release were the Cardiff Devils. They have released their home, away, and their Challenge Cup jersey, or their alternate jersey, which is the green and black jersey. So once again, guys, just for clarity's sake, the home is red, the away is white, and their alternate / Challenge Cup jersey is the green and black. Dave, you were the last time. You're the first this time. What's your take on the Cardiff Devils?
Still struggling with their logo, but yeah, it's growing on me. I love the fact that they're using the green more. Always thought the green looked really nice. So it did on their jerseys. Just breaks up a bit. Sometimes when it was all red and black, it can be a bit samey. Adding that third color just breaks it up. I think it looks well.
Yeah, I'm going to give my take on this one before I come to anyone else, because actually I think the green and black is the best of the bunch here. I think the red and the white look very, very samey to what we've seen from the Cardiff Devils since their rebrand. The green and black, that's a set of traditional colours for the Cardiff Devils. I do wish they'd done a little bit more with it though, because it just looks like all they did was like take the colour drop tool, change those two block colours from red and black or white and green to the green and black. If they'd done something around the logo, or at the very least maybe produced new shorts. But putting the black jersey with the red shorts to me is too stark and it doesn't work. And I granted they've got the black socks to go with the black.
That would look phenomenal. It would look really nice with green shorts.
Yep.
But black and green. I think black and green shorts would look fantastic if they had that colorway all the way through. Clearly, I don't know if it's just a thing of saving money and they've just gone with the one set of shorts all the way through. But either way, I think it's the best out of that bunch, and it's not a bad jersey, to be honest, across the whole range. I just think the green is the best. Marty, come to you next. Your take?
Yeah, I'd agree. The green and black one is definitely the best of all of them. But I suppose I'm coming back to what you had said, John, in relation to the drop tool thing. I actually don't mind the fact that all of the three jerseys have a similar look to them. I like there's a bit of uniformity to it. I actually don't mind that. I just don't mind. I don't mind that they've changed the color just based on like the dots, the main body, and then the shoulder part. I actually don't mind that, and the sleeves obviously have the little stripe as well. I actually don't mind that, but yeah, the green and black is definitely the one that would. If I was purchasing it, if I was Devils fan and I was putting my money down, that's what I'd be putting my money on.
Aaron, final thoughts on Cardiff?
I'm sitting here struggling because I wasn't quite sure on the green, but now I'm not. I think it's that I'm not sure on the red, which is weird because it's the Devils, right? But like the white and green jerseys, I'm struggling with the green patches and then the red gloves and the red shorts. I think there's too much going on.
I think that's a fair shout. I think there's too much going on within it. I think if they'd balanced out the colours, if they thought, right, we're going to go black and green with this, I think you've got to commit to it, and I think you've got to go all in, and I think that's the biggest problem with it. It'll look great on a fan because fans don't go to the rinks wearing the rest of the gear. Generally, there's always one or two lunatics, but in general, I think that's a cracking jersey for a fan.
Yeah.
Guys, let's shift on. This is sure to be probably the most controversial couple of minutes that are going to be on this podcast this week around. The Belfast Giants released their jersey lineup for the 2025-26 season. The home teal, the away white, the Challenge Cup teal full colorway, and an alternate season ticket exclusive black jersey. Marty, I am going to come to you first for your thoughts on the Giants jersey lineup for this season.
Meh. That's the only way I can respond. Meh. I mean, yeah, I said this in our group chat whenever these were released at the fan event there last week. My main issue with it, especially when the white one, is very obvious. When you zoom in on the white one, it's very, very obvious. It looks like and Aaron, I don't want to steal from what you said, but I'm kind of just going to say it. Aaron had said about, it's like whenever back in the day, whenever you like almost like you're doing your background on your computer and you set like an image to your background and you just kind of repeated the image across and there were little squares on the background. That's exactly what the white jersey looks like when you zoom in. It looks like they've just took like little square patterns of the same shape and it hasn't matched up properly to the other shape that's underneath it, and it's just all in there, and it messes my head. I don't like it whatsoever. The green one's slightly better, because the green one you can't see. The teal one. The dark teal. The teal home one is slightly better, but again, you can still see the same thing. That like kind of like squared box type style. If you're gonna ask me which one's the best out of the four, I'm not paying my money for any of the four, but if you were going to ask me which one's the best, which one do I think people are going to buy the most, it's going to be between the Challenge Cup jersey or the alternate jersey is where people are going to put their money, I think, because I think they're probably maybe the best ones out of both. Which is worse because I suppose two things. The Stena Line logo is smaller, which is a nice little thing because I feel like it's tiny, and the Giants branding and the Giants font thing, whatever they call it, I can't remember the phrase they use for the font. It's bigger, but I don't like the fact the logo is the tiniest little speck in the bottom. But I feel that these two will be the ones that will be purchased most because I think that's where the money will lie on those two jerseys.
Yep. Aaron.
It's the same. It's the background design. I actually don't mind the layout.
Sorry, on the background design, I'm a Giants fan, okay, but as soon as I saw these, I was not interested, to be totally honest.
I don't know what it
haven't
means.
Read exactly. That's my thing. I haven't read anything, but have the Giants said if this means anything? Because I saw some comments on the video that I put out on TikTok when this came out, and we're saying at least the hexagons, they meant something. They were linked to the
100%.
Giants Causeway. This though, what does it mean? Like, what are the wiggles? Do they represent the long journey that the Giants have been on in our 26 years?
No, I think he's reading into it way too much. I think it's back to the same as it was 2 seasons ago, where they had the jerseys that looked like the tie-dye jerseys that looked like they'd just been bleached accidentally and completely really badly. It's just back to that. They just put a random design on the jersey.
It sounds really random. It's not actually random, as far as I can tell. It's what Cool FM use as their placeholder in the background of their website. That's what it looks like.
What?
So if you go to Cool FM's Twitter and all that jazz, when they do a competition and they put text up, they do this weird artifact that looks like that behind it, and it's really annoying.
Oh my god!
Isn't it? Theirs is in purple or something. And it's literally just the Giants went, I like that, and just copied and pasted it. And it's the most uninspired. And you know me, I'll defend the Giants jersey usually till they've been in blue in the face. But I seen the Cool FM thing and went, nah, you can't copy someone's homework and slap a Giants logo on it and say it's your jersey.
To be fair, we've slagged Glasgow for a lot worse and a lot less. So
only thing I do like, I really like the ice blue neck. Of all the stuff, there's a nice wee ice blue neckline. I like that.
Oh my god! I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm late to the game, but oh my god! I just seen the Cool FM thing. You're 100% right.
Can you screenshot it and throw it up onto whatever you're using?
Well, no, no. You can't be bothered.
I'll get it.
I'll tweet it later. Everyone go look at Cool FM's Twitter page.
Marty's gonna do it now. Marty's a legend.
While he's doing that, let's go on, because I've said what I'm going to say about the Belfast Giants jerseys on TikTok, and I think now all 4 of us have had a chance to look at this one. We're going to stick with the Elite League for a couple more. The next one's the Nottingham Panthers. Fans were getting worried because they hadn't seen anything released in the run-up to their pre-season kicking off this weekend. And as soon as the Nottingham Panthers fans start worrying, of course, Nottingham come through. Guys, their jerseys are pretty traditional. They look very Nottingham Panthers to me. They fit the brand. I'm also led to believe that they are fan-designed as well for pre-season. So that's another big bonus. I don't know if there's ghosted designs on them.
That's what I was going to ask. Is it the quality of the image, or is there a pattern on it?
Is there a tree on it?
The quality of my screenshot. So there is
on the back
some patterning on it.
Yeah.
Talk amongst yourselves.
I think it's a tree.
I'm gonna try and read about it. Yes, there is a tree. You're right. There's a tree on the back. It's Robin Hood. It's Robin Hood.
Robin Hood. Here we go. Yeah, brilliant.
It's Robin Hood is on the back, and in the chat we are led to believe that it's the Theatre Royal is in the background, which I assume is on the front.
I like that.
The tree is of course the Major Oak.
I like that. That makes sense rather than just random lines.
Or the stolen image from Cool FM, which looks like that.
Yeah, there it is.
Good lord.
It's exactly the same.
I seen this and I was
I'm a big fan of the image that you chose to put there. There's flies all over it. There's flies all over that giant.
There is flies all over it.
Guys,
I like how
move on.
the Panthers jerseys doesn't have the massive sponsor logo on it, like in the center. Like it's the Panthers logo is the main thing.
They are preseason jerseys, so let's just make that caveat. They are
Oh.
just for preseason. But you can probably take some cues off that for what you would expect.
It's
to
really
see.
nice.
Now, again, I'm saying that, but remembering that these are fan designed as well. So there may be a massive swing, a massive departure when it comes to their regular season jerseys. I assume we'll
Right.
get that sometime in the next couple of weeks. So probably in time for the next podcast. By the time we're coming back in a couple of weeks, we should have the vast majority of the jerseys released for the season.
As long as they
well,
stay away from that weird maroon color they used to use, I never liked that.
See, I don't know.
I think the
like
fan done a good job on a balance
They did.
here.
The fan was brilliant.
Yeah.
That's right. And to be honest, if you were going to those preseason games, I don't know what their plan is, whether it's auction or shirt off the back tickets, but you would drop a few pound on that if you were
Oh, yeah.
a Giants fan. You definitely wouldn't drop any money on that if you were a Giants fan. You would drop some money on it if you were a Panthers fan. I do also like that it looks like they're maintaining that change in their logo, where their
with the
home jersey says
team, yeah.
Panthers. And their away jersey says Nottingham above
yes.
the logo.
I like that.
I'm still a massive fan
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah, it's really good.
Guys, there's one more Elite League jersey to have a look at, and that is the Coventry Blaze haven't quite released their jerseys yet for the coming season, but what they have released is their warm-up jerseys. So these will be their home and away warm-up jerseys. Guys, the one thing I will say is they just look like that. Remember that season ticket or the thank you jersey that the Giants did?
Yeah.
Kind of looks like that, just with the city skyline.
I quite like the skyline. It's quite nice. But as a warm up jersey, I think they work. I think
the
something like
arms are the wrong way
that.
around. So they do, weirdly. So the way that it's like if we go for the white one, it's navy at the top and then white at the bottom. It should be navy at the bottom and then white at the top and fade up. So it matches the skyline at the bottom.
Sorry, guy, I was trying to look at something else there. Yes, I do like that.
It would make a
That's
nice
fine.
fan jersey, like a I don't know, like just a random jersey you purchase as a fan. I think it would look really nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just it's unoffensive.
It is. It's incredibly unoffensive. Marty, can you do me a favor?
Yep.
While I'm doing the rest of this, could you go on to X and have a look at the Sheffield Scimitars? Because I actually want to bring that up. Can you throw that up and get it ready?
Yeah, I'll
thanks,
find it.
Anthony. I've had a look at that, but let's get those up on here. Guys, let's take a little departure from the Elite for 2 seconds, and let's have a look at the Solway Sharks. They released not 1, not 2, not 3, but 6 jersey designs that they will carry forward into the 2025-26 season. So they have released their home, their away, their alternate jersey, their home warm-ups, their away warm-ups, and their season ticket exclusive jersey. I'll be totally honest, guys. I don't think there's a bad jersey in this group.
I just think they're out there. I like them.
Fun.
I normally am when they're out and crazy. Sometimes I can get a bit meh, but I think it's after has such an uninspired Giants jersey that I'm like, at least they tried. They took a shot.
They did, and I honestly think that has been an absolute win. So
You know what it reminds me of? What was the cartoon in the 90s that had like
Street
Sharks? Street Sharks. Yeah.
I was
I
thinking
knew
of
exactly
Scotland
where you were
George.
going with that. You straight away.
Brilliant.
My
Brilliant.
favorite. I have 2 standouts amongst this. Now, when I did the video on TikTok about these, I talked about the season ticket jersey. I think it's gorgeous because I think you put black with tartan, I think it always looks good, especially a sort of blue and green tartan. I think they just pop really, really well. But the other one I like is that alt jersey. So in that group of 3 jerseys, the alt jersey where they've switched the colorway, where the St Andrew's cross on the chest that goes through the logo is white, and they've got the tartan running throughout the vast majority of the jersey. I know it's small on the screen, guys, but for those of you watching on YouTube, if you've got it full size, you've probably got a good view of it. I think that's a gorgeous jersey, and I really like their alt logo with the fin. It's cracking. I've no idea why Aaron's just dropped off. He says he's on audio only.
No, I do.
His camera just decided to disappear.
I really like them. Like, it's just, again, they took a shot. I think they all landed. I think the colours all work, and I love a bit of tartan on the jersey. I think they've done a good job. They've what? Is there 2 logos? Their alt's pretty cool looking. I really like the warm-up dark jersey. The dark blue with the big crazy shark. I think that just looks class.
Marty, any thoughts?
Yeah, I definitely like the home and away ones. With the tartan bits and stuff. I like those. I'm not a big fan of the warm-ups, to be fair. I don't like that cartoony shark thing. I'm sorry, but I don't. It's not my thing. I don't like it. So I would be for those.
How dare you dislike Sharky? We can't be friends anymore. He says wearing an Anaheim Ducks jersey.
Well, to be fair, Anaheim, only the closest they ever got was the duck mask. They never got a crazy duck on the front.
No.
Guys, there's one more I have in this setup. And Milton Keynes, our favourite non-Elite League or former Elite League team of ours here on the podcast, have released their 2025 jerseys. Their home, their away, and their, I believe the one on the right is their alternate, which is just the blue lightning underneath. It's cheese.
Pure 90s.
My God. And it's like a good stinky brie. I love it. Give it to me on crackers.
Yeah, it's awful.
Aaron, what's your thoughts on the jersey? Not what I just said.
Not sure that I'm going to say it's stinky brie. Give to me on crackers.
If that's not on their website, if that's not the quote on their website to sell these jerseys, I don't know what they're doing wrong.
You should go into marketing, buddy. That's exactly what you should do. But I really like the white jersey. I really like the. Did you say that's the home jersey or that the away jersey?
No, that'll be their away. White will be away.
No, white will be the way. I really like the away jersey. I think the little hint of lightning at the bottom corner there, without being stinky brie on cheese or stinky brie on crackers, it's just a nice enough hint with the away jersey.
Nice, Marty. Your thoughts?
Yeah, home and away are lovely. That alternate one, no, just get it out of here. No, just get it in the bin.
I wish they'd have put like rad, to the extreme or something.
Yeah, retro sunglasses on the logo as well.
Yeah. There should be a QR code on it that just goes immediately to Ride the Lightning on Spotify.
Oh, what they should have done is, the synthwave. Should have done a synthwave logo. Would have been amazing. The bright neon pinks and neon blues. It would just work with those that lightning. So.
That's interesting. I didn't know that.
And that's a cracking idea.
NIHL national teams were dark at home for half a season and then light at home for the other half. That's interesting. Wow.
What a cracking idea.
Okay.
Guys, there's one more jersey. This is the one that I asked Marty to throw up while we were all chatting. And that is the Sheffield Scimitars in North 1. I hadn't seen this one. I think they're cracking. I don't think there's the home and away jersey. Home for half the year, away for half the year. They're cracking. I think they're brilliant jerseys.
It's the Oilers colors, right?
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah.
But this is
100%.
so I did mention this. So the Scimitars this year have changed their colors. And they've gone to the orange. I can't remember what they were previously, but they've moved to orange so that Sheffield has a singular identity across all of its hockey. So that, to me, is a great thing that they've done. But they've also done it and still have a good jersey. Guys, that is all the jerseys to talk about. I think the last story, Marty, I think we'll skip it. I think we're already over 2 hours. Let's save that last one for the next podcast.
Yeah, there's two stories we're going to move into the next podcast. There's one that we didn't cover in period one because obviously I had technical issues that we will cover because it's important to cover it. So we'll throw it into our next episode, which will be here in 2 weeks' time. We're back on track with our regularly scheduled programming. So we'll be back every 2 weeks moving forward for the rest of the season. Our next episode will be coming out prior to the start of the Elite League Challenge Cup. First games, I believe, will be in that weekend of our recording. So what we will do is obviously bring our, we'll put together a bits and pieces of our predictions for the upcoming season, and we'll look ahead as well to the upcoming games that will be coming up in the Challenge Cup that weekend. Boys, it's been a bumper episode, but worth the bumper episode and worth the time. I've enjoyed just kind of at the start, just kind of focusing on the 10-year anniversary. I've enjoyed just kind of reminiscing about that, and then obviously just catching up again with everyone on the podcast, because it has been some time since the four of us have been together.
It had to be the same length as one of the original podcasts, like, so.
It had to be. You're 100% right. Stay within that frame. So if you
Listen, at least you're not going back and editing all the ums and ahs out of it, because
I was going to say that the original was 3 hours long, and then when we cut out the hums and ahs, it went down to 2 hours long.
If you have been on this episode from the very start, thank you so much for sticking with us throughout this episode. We hope you enjoyed it. We enjoyed recording it as usual. Guys, we will sign off for this week. As we always do, we'll just kind of direct you towards all the places where you can find our stuff and our information and our socials and all that kind of thing. So you can check out this episode, all our previous episodes on door14hockey.com. There's a new blog up there too, just reminiscing again about the 10-year anniversary. So check that out. I spent some time just writing up my thoughts on that, with links to some episodes that I think are key episodes to listen to. So go ahead and have a wee look at that. You can check out follow us on any of our socials. We're on Facebook, X, TikTok, and all socials at Door14Hockey. We're also on YouTube. If you're not watching this live and you're listening to it as a regular podcast, you can go and check out the video version of this podcast on our YouTube channel. And you can subscribe it down here somewhere and press the button to get notified for notifications for new content, which hopefully will be coming this coming week. On Monday, we're trialing some new content on our YouTube channel, so fingers crossed people like it. You can let us know and we'll continue maybe making some more. It'll be a top 10 list, and it's the first list be focusing on the Elite League. So top 10 things you need to know about the Elite League for anybody who's new to the UK's hockey scene. You can check it out. It'll have some little bit of tidbits and some facts and figures and some history of the league. So check that out when it comes out on Monday. We are a podcast. We've always been a podcast and we continue to be a podcast. So check us out on your podcast provider of choice, whatever that might be. SoundCloud, iTunes, Spotify, whatever it is. We're on all of the podcast providers. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave us a comment or a rating, whatever it is, on your podcast provider of choice. I think that is everything covered that I need to say. Just going to sign off. And again, just thank the boys here for their continued support over the last 10 years. 10 years ago, whenever we came up with the idea and I was put forward and nominated as the host of the podcast, I'm not going to lie, I completely panicked and was terrified about the concept and the idea of being the host of a podcast. But I've enjoyed every moment of it, and I really am enjoying it, and I will continue to enjoy it and continue to provide the podcast as long as people will be listening. So thank you very much for listening again for this episode, and we hope that you will continue to do so. With that, we will sign off for this week. I'm Marty.
I'm Dave.
I'm John.
I'm Aaron.
Have a great week.